What's up, my friends in the film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. Here to break down a relatively good movie. I was entertained. It was kind of what I wanted, kind of not. We'll get into that in a minute. But here to talk with me about that and more is my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
I feel like I'd rather be in the afterlife because don't let my sunny demeanor fool you. I've been in pain for the past 2 days, and I managed to hobble my ass into the theater, though, to still watch this movie. So the dedication's there. The cane's definitely there. And, since everyone bitched at me last time, I've got it this time. I'm ready to go. So let's crack it and give a double cheer for Beetlejuice.
Indeed. And of course, with us from down south, the shape of Lone Star State. I'm in Texas. What's up, brother?
Can y'all see? Y'all must have powers or something. I got this book. Like I fell and hit my head, and then this book just magically appeared. But I can't learn anything from it. Like, how do you read a book with nothing on the inside of it? It's no wonder everybody has such a problem.
It's up for interpretation.
Yeah, you can't read anyway.
Right? I got that public school education going. But hey, what's up, everybody? So we're here.
Yeah. Before we get into the review, though, it would be remiss if we did not bring up a loss that we suffered yesterday that is absolutely terrible for all film fandom. James Earl Jones, the prolific film, TV, and theater actor whose resonant and unmistakable baritone was most widely known as the voice of Star Wars villain Darth Vader, passed away yesterday morning at his home in New York at the age of 93. He overcame a profound stutter as a child to establish himself as one of the pioneering black actors of his generation, amassing a bountiful and versatile career spanning over 60 years, starting with his debut on Broadway in 1958. Among his more than 80 film credits, Jones' notable movies included a B-52 bombardier in Stanley Kubrick's 1964 World War satire Dr. Strangelove. That was his feature film debut. He also played the first black president of the United States in 1972's The Man. He played the fearsome villain in 1982's Conan the Barbarian. Boy, there was a lot of great scenes that he gave us in that one. He was the reclusive author in 1989's Field of Dreams, one of my personal favorite roles of his, and the blind former baseball player in 1993's The Sandlot. He also starred as a minister living in apartheid South Africa in 1995's Cry the Beloved Country, which got a lot of critical acclaim. Of course, as for his most famous role, Jones was paid $7,000 to lend his voice to Darth Vader in 1977's Star Wars: A New Hope. But he declined screen credit for that film and its sequel, 1980's The Empire Strikes Back, out of deference to the actor who actually played the role on screen, David Prowse. I could go on and on and on and on about this guy, his career, his talent, his presence. I don't know what I could say that hasn't already been said in the last 24 hours by some of the people that knew him and worked with him. I don't know. Jeremy, what are some of your thoughts on the passing of James Earl Jones?
Man, if I think even what you say, Frank, as a Hall of Famer. I mean, this guy. I was gonna say he deserves a league of his own, maybe. Come on, it was right there. I don't know. I don't know if there's a high enough pedestal I could put this guy on. Like you said, he's been around for many, many, many decades, and he's been in so many things that we all, like you said, we all love. Like, not to mention, like you said, like Star Wars, The Sandlot. I'm surprised you didn't mention, Coming to America. I mean, someone like me, The Lion King, he was Mufasa. So you could pick very easily like 5 things that this guy's been in at least that, it sticks with you because it's James Earl Jones. I don't even watch Big Bang Theory, but that is one of the funniest damn things is when he ding dong pitches Carrie Fisher. She comes out with a baseball bat. That's not funny, James. He's in the bush. And why am I laughing? Like, oh man. Like, yeah, I don't. It's hard to put into words, but man, it hurts. But hey, we got, like I always say, this guy's got one hell of a catalog to go back on. If you want to watch some of this stuff, and it's something. It's a legacy that's going to stick around. So
Yeah, Tex, how about you? I mean, there was not one genre of movie this guy stuck to. Whether it was, he did some comedy, he did some action, he did some drama. There was so much that, I mean, his talent was evident in every role that he was in. What are some of your thoughts on the life and career of James Earl Jones?
Well, there's a lot of famous people, but there's very few that will ever be within the sphere of James Earl Jones. I mean, this guy's voice alone makes him recognizable generations that haven't even gotten here yet. And for him to not even be, to just look at the Star Wars angle here for a minute. He got to voice the greatest villain in cinema. And it touched so many people that it will never go away. Like, I mean, I'm not a big Lion King guy. That's, more Jeremy's and other people's thing. But when you hear this man speak, when you hear him speak, he's got one of those voices that, as the joke goes, this person could read the phone book and I would listen. He's got one of those kind of voices. And he was one of the celebrities that you never really heard anything bad about. I can't remember any scandal or trouble that he ever got into. He just entertained the people. He didn't throw politics in everybody's face. He just did his job. He did what an actor should. And, I mean, the man was 93 years old. He got to live a life we'd all be jealous of. And, I mean, obviously thoughts and prayers with his family, but we should all be so lucky as to live as James Earl Jones did. So, God bless him.
Yeah, talk about living a good life. I mean,
right.
I mean,
the most iconic villain in history, probably.
I mean, self-made. I mean, did not come from money. I don't know exactly what his background was. Did not come from money. Built himself up. Worked hard, and going from theater to film acting, eventually into more television stuff. It's just, I mean, it seemed that there was no role that he wasn't about perfect for. And even if he was one of those actors where you look at like, I don't know if I can see James Earl Jones in that role until you see him spit out a couple of lines and you're like, oh yeah, that's the guy for the role. I mean, chameleon. Some people say they can do any role, but it's like he just made the role his. It's like, I'm just going to make this role a very serious, strong, firm kind of guy, and I'm going to read the lines in this voice, and it's like, wow, like okay. I was thinking a long time ago. I was actually watching Hunt for Red October a while back, in that scene towards the end of the movie where he blows up the missile, and then he shows his ID to the kid that was sitting at that instrument panel. He just kind of looks in the eye and goes, I was never here. And I was thinking to myself, if I was an actor, I would totally break characters and be like, okay, yes, Mr. Jones. Okay, right. Say so. I mean, when you have a guy with that kind of presence looking at you, I mean, and like Jeremy said, I mean, look, The Lion King, there's a couple of animated films that kind of go beyond being cartoons and go on to being great films. The first Lion King is easily one of them. I think the first Toy Story is probably one of them as well. They just hit differently. They're for kids. They're animated, but they are something else. They are a different kind of filmmaking. And he is. Look, him. I honestly, as good as The Lion King is, I don't know if that movie would have hit quite the same without his voice as Mufasa. I'm looking back and having seen, I think all of them except for like the most recent one at some point. I don't think that any voice other than his would have given that movie the character that it did. I don't know if it would have hit the same. For me, obviously, as the baseball fan, obviously the Sandlot. Granted, it's a small role at the very end of the movie, but it's like thinking back to my childhood playing baseball at parks and stuff like that, and having to jump a few fences to get the ball once or twice in my younger days. Those kinds of experiences. I mean, that's what those kids experienced in that movie was a memory to me. It wasn't something I was watching on the screen. It was a memory to me that I was seeing up on the screen. But damn, that monologue that he has in not Coming to America. Goddamn, what am I thinking? Field of Dreams. The monologue that he has in Field of Dreams at the end of the movie. I had been to baseball games over the last 20 years where at some point in the game they will just put that up on the screen like during a pitching change or something like that. Cool. And you will see 30,000 people stop and get completely enamored with something that a monologue they've probably heard, assuming they're legit baseball fans, they've probably heard 1,000 times. But when you hear him go on and on about, if you build it, they will come. It's not just baseball; it's something else. When you had really heavy emotional dialogue to deliver, you needed somebody to tell a story in a certain way. That was one of the guys that did it. So, I don't know what else to say. I heard this yesterday and I was just blown away. I was sitting there and I was like, I should go to Twitter and say something, but I was just holding my phone in my hand. Like, what do I say?
I did that too. That's what sucked is I just got to the theater to go see Beetlejuice, and I was waiting for my parents to show up. I opened my phone. That was the first thing I saw, and I always have to I was like, no way. I had to look it up, and I was hoping I'd see something to the contrary.
I didn't realize he was 93 years old. I didn't realize he was even that old, though. That's crazy.
Yeah, he had good innings. He put in good innings, man. Can't knock that at all.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny?
I tried to look to make sure I wasn't sure, and sure if it was. And like Frank said, I just kind of stood there. I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I kind of sputtered something out, and may the force be with you. And I couldn't. I was like, damn. I'm gonna go and watch Beetlejuice and be depressed as shit. I think I told you guys, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk into the ocean now. Bye. Hopefully, the afterlife is as cool as Beetlejuice.
You know what's interesting is as I was hearing this yesterday and processing it, I was thinking about the exact scene that Jeremy was talking about earlier. That he ended up putting up on Facebook last night. The scene of him, ding dong ditching Carrie Fisher, and I got sad for a minute because I was like, now both of them are gone, and I was just like, that scene is kind of it's a great homage to both of them. The great spirit that they had as people, not as actors, not anything to do with their characters, just their spirit as people. I was thinking about that scene and I was like, wow, that's depressing because I watch a lot of old 70s and 80s TV shows, and I was watching an episode of MASH the other night as I was falling asleep, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, good God, there's only one person of the 7 that are standing in this scene that are still living. I'm like, that's pretty harsh, but yeah, definitely rest in peace to James Earl Jones, one of the finest actors to ever live. Thank you. All I can really say is thank you for sharing your gift with us for so many years, for 80 films and 60 years. Just an absolutely amazing talent, and he will most certainly be missed. But let's move on now into the reason why we're here. We are here to talk about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. It is the 2024 American dark fantasy comedy horror film directed by Tim Burton, from a screenplay written by Alfred Gough and Miles Millar. It's a sequel to Beetlejuice from 1988 and the second film of the Beetlejuice franchise. The film stars Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara reprising their roles from the original film, alongside new cast members Justin Theroux, Monica Bellucci, Jenna Ortega, and Willem Dafoe. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice opened the 81st Venice Film International Film Festival on August 28th of 2024. It was theatrically released overseas on September 4th and in the United States by Warner Brothers Pictures 2 days later. The film has received generally positive reviews from critics and has grossed $147 million worldwide against a $100 million budget. On Rotten Tomatoes, 76% of 255 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 6.5 out of 10, with the website's consensus review reading, quote, Michael Keaton's devious poltergeist still has plenty of juice left in this madcap return to form for Tim Burton, marrying charming practical effects and ghoulish gags to provide a fun time. I can't really knock that. I mean, there's some holes in the movie. We'll get into that. But I mean, ultimately, I got what I wanted. Tex, let me go to you first and get your quick thoughts.
If I had to sum this up in a few words, I'd say convoluted but fun. I think this would have been better as a season on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something instead of a film, because there's a lot of good stuff in here, but it's like Tim Burton and his crew said, okay, we've only got one movie. What are some ideas? And they did all of them. Every character has a subplot within this film to the point where it's almost kind of hard to keep up with at times. I had fun with it. I liked it, but this movie either needed 20 more minutes or 2 less subplots. So you take your pick, whatever you want. So.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I don't know, Jeremy, what do you think? Give me your quick thoughts on Beetlejuice. I cannot hear you. You must have unplugged your mic.
I can hear you.
Still not hearing you.
You're in Tokyo.
Does that work?
That's better, yeah.
There we go.
Does it sound okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Well, screw this thing. Deal with that later. I love how these are actually on and charged, but they decided not to. Sorry I had to come back as a demon. So fucking.
We'd
Anyway.
expect nothing less from you.
Yeah, did you see that cool transition change and that there was something on screen and I came back. Somebody said my name 3 times. It's not like the first movie wasn't like all over the place. I mean, you don't really see Michael Keaton until like the almost an hour into the movie. This one at least had him a little more. I do agree with Tex though. It's like I was kind of like, okay, now we got like 4 different plots going on here, and I thought the crazed dead ex-wife thing was gonna go somewhere, but it just kind of didn't. I think the movie even forgot about it for a minute, because I legitimately stopped in the middle of the movie and thought to myself, like, where has she been? I haven't seen her in a minute. Like, she was going around wrecking shop, and then all of a sudden, like, they forgot about her for about 30 minutes of the movie, and I was like, so what is her point then? I mean, I get he's freaking out, and that might be kind of like a plot for, he's obviously got to get something out of the deal, as he always does. But then I'm like, okay, I like this angle with Jenna Ortega and the young kid, and the whole thing with Winona Ryder's character. I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily need. I'm not gonna say no to Monica Bellucci, so my hands are tied. You see where I'm at. My hands are kind of tied. I mean,
right.
I feel like you could have done a little more with her, I guess, because like I legitimately had a point where I actually thought, like, Jesus,
she should have been a primary character, not a side story. That was a waste.
Yeah, I thought that's where it was going, and then I get it. Yeah. It can be easily taken care of because apparently everything in both movies now can easily be solved with a sandworm. So, whatever. I don't know. I had fun with the movie and I did enjoy it. It was, it took care of, as Frank always says, you're a line of dialogue away from explaining something, and I was like, okay, so how do we explain, Kitty Diddler and Mr. Mr. Six Shooter and Stuart Little's mom? So I'm like, and I think Jenna Ortega says it best, like when she's like, hey, what about the ghost in the attic? She's like, oh, they moved on. She's like, well, that's convenient. I'm like, yeah.
Barely an inconvenience.
I was like, I guess we did. I think the thing I'm worried about was like, wow, they got dude's likeness quite a bit on the gravestone and the weird claymation because they had to have it somewhere. And I was like, okay, and haha, he got bit in half by a shark, so we don't have to show his face. I'm like, that's fucking genius. I'm sorry, that made me giggle, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of okay with it. I get it, guys. You don't got to go that far.
I got thoughts on that in a little while. I'm holding off on that part till Google stops paying attention. But I've got thoughts on that storyline. So. But I'll touch on that in a little while.
Well, maybe don't touch on it. That's a bad choice of words. Don't even photograph it. Don't look at it. No,
right. Yeah.
They took care of the things that we were kind of worried about, and I don't know. It's a good sequel, but I'm sure we're gonna get into it. I feel like there could have been more or less of some of the plot lines that were going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you guys about this movie being a little too crowded with different plots. It's like main plot, subplot is kind of standard. Maybe a smaller secondary one that you have for humor, like the whole thing with Slimer in Ghostbusters after Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That was a whole little like third level subplot that we just laughed at for a scene here and there a couple times over the course of the movie. That was fine, but this movie was kind of crowded with individual things, and it was a bit disconjointed at times, because jumping back between the main plot and the subplot can be a complicated business, in and of itself if you're not paying attention. But when you've got 3 or 4 different stories you're trying to sell, one of them is inevitably going to suffer, and the one that suffered is the one that should have driven the movie ultimately. But I'll get into some of that here in just a minute. Let's talk first about the cast. I mean, you can't. I mean, sure, Michael Keaton, he's going to be great, but let's talk about the cast. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. Who stood out for you the most and why?
There's more characters this time, and this time I can have fun with it. Yeah, I'm just in that shot alone right there. I'm glad we have 3 generations of this Deets family. We have Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, of course, and Jenna Ortega. So that was just cool to see. I'm glad they're all still back here, and of course Michael Keaton. I don't have to explain that, obviously. Obviously, I'm gonna go with a cameo, and I'll say I do this kind of shit to see if Frank actually gets pictures of it. I had to give it to Danny DeVito as the janitor.
I couldn't find
stole
one. I couldn't. I was looking for that picture and I couldn't find one. This is the problem with doing the new movies. Is there's not always good shots. It takes a while for some of the screen grabs to go out, and on the screen capture website that I've been trying to use, there wasn't one on. This movie isn't on there yet.
I'm sure you would have put one.
I would have found one.
Danny DeVito, because you know what? I don't care. It's a fun cameo. I don't have to explain Monica Bellucci. We'll just let that one sit there. And I feel bad that I stole Texas because I would have said, well, hold on, because I would have said I enjoyed the kid that Jenna Ortega gets into it with, but if you're gonna be an asshole and ruin my namesake like that, dude, I think you're out of the club. I know you two were just giggling in your fucking seats when you heard his name.
He was shit out of luck, though. He's fine.
Well,
he got shit out of luck.
He did. I was just like, damn it, why is the kid's name Jeremy? God, fucker. Damn it. Oh, you best believe that the entire row of people that were with me all just looked at me and I was like, hey. I've conferred with the council of Jeremy's and we don't accept him. So, as he said, later, fucker. Straight to hell. Frank stole my line. I was going to put later, fucker. But
that was the one F-bomb.
Because then, because 5 minutes later, he does it again. They bleep it. I'm like, that's so funny. God damn it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tex, how about you? What do you think of the cast and who stood out to you the most?
Yeah, I don't care if Jeremy stole mine or not. I'm still going with Danny DeVito. I did not expect to love that cameo as much as I did. I mean, obviously, when you see him from the back, you know it's Danny DeVito. He's got one of those frames that you know who it is. And then when he turns around, he's all zombified. So, like, my first thought was like, is this what happens to Frank Reynolds after he dies and it's always sunny and like he goes to hell and this is his eternal punishment? But then, like, he's once you start hearing Margaritaville in the earphones and he's just like, you can tell he's miserable. He's just like, buffing the floor and then that Frenchy guy dies and he's like trying to talk to goddamn foreigners. Like just the way he says that line, I was like, oh my God, that's just hilarious. The way Danny DeVito played, like I was actually sad to see a character die in a film. I was like, no, don't kill this guy. Now I do have a conspiracy theory though. I think they kind of snuck in a penguin Easter egg with the whole drinking the liquid and have it like ooze coming out of his mouth. I mean, he did play Penguin in another Tim Burton movie where the exact same thing happens to him. So I'm thinking maybe they were kind of getting a little meta with not really calling too much attention to it. Well, maybe you picked up on it, maybe you didn't. But I got a ditto Grimm's best role of the film with Danny DeVito.
He was buffing to Buffett. How do you say no?
Right. Well,
I'm like, hey, I was like, damn it, Buffett's also dead. So I'm like, is that also another deep cut? Because he's
if you don't like Jimmy Buffett, you just go join the terrorists right now. I don't care what kind of music you like. If you can't get down with some Margaritaville, you're just on the wrong side of history. So, I could spend my afterlife jamming out to some, as I am a parrot head. I'm self-professed. I make no bones about it. But
I think everybody.
It's all good.
A little bit. We're all.
I was.
Who doesn't want a cheeseburger in paradise? I mean, would you not want that? I mean, what's wrong?
Yeah, I was blessed to have had a chance. I was blessed to have had a chance to see him in concert here in Cincinnati at Riverbend Arena. Yeah, let me tell you, tailgating at a Jimmy Buffett concert was an experience.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love this
I bet it was
experience.
great. Yeah.
I've tailgated
yeah.
sporting events, other concerts, but tailgating Jimmy Buffett, that was just different. That was a different place. But you know, for me, the returning cast was exactly what I wanted them to be. I do gotta say though, I want to throw a lot of credit to Jenna Ortega. While she wasn't quite the character that I wanted her to be, she was still a big enough difference from Lydia that it wasn't just like, you know, emo goth girl junior. She was kind of a modern day teenager. You know, at the beginning of the movie, she's like protesting some environmental bullshit and whatever. She's doing that thing. So while she might dress kind of dark, she is kind of a modern day teenager. Now, while not the perky cheerleader that I thought it would have been hilarious to see, she wasn't just a carbon copy of Lydia from the first movie. That was pretty cool to see. Obviously, happy to see Catherine O'Hara back and all that. She herself, I think, is probably a Hall of Famer. She's been so good in so many things. But I mean, come on, Willem Dafoe. It's like, I wanted to try to be bad in the role. I wanted to be bad in the role just once on purpose because I just want to see if he can do it. It seems like no matter what he's doing, there's a little bit extra charisma that he gives it that I don't think anybody else could have. And I have an interesting casting possibility about that role that will make us all think, especially you, Jeremy.
Can I say that's also just that shot itself, but also just that prosthetic is just sick as hell. It's probably 90% because it's Willem Dafoe, but I'm just like, God, that's so cool looking. He's like this dead fucking actor playing a cop in the afterlife, but it's fucking Willem Dafoe. And I'm like, the thing with him is I'm like, I know he just has the fucking time of his life acting, like just having the most fun he can possibly have. You know, when he played Green Goblin very recently, I'm like, he's like, I want to do this shit for real. There's no pussyfooting. I want to do the fights. I want to do this and just have a fucking blast with it. I'm like, see, that's how you should be. I love it.
The scene. Now, we did not get anywhere near enough William Dafoe in this film. He should have been a main. Like, I would have completely cut the plot line of the boyfriend. That was dumb and stupid. Justin Theroux sucks. I don't care what anybody says. I hate this guy. Give his lines to William Dafoe, where he is talking to his cops at the end of the movie, and his like little, you know, protege, whatever is behind him, with the cue card holding him up for him to read his inspiring speech to the troops. That everybody popped in my theater whenever I saw that scene. That was hilarious. Just he's an actor who had to do his own stunts, and who knew a grenade was that powerful, you know, but whatever.
It was supposed to be a tiny grenade.
Oh yeah, that got a little too real there, buddy.
One thing I do have to mention on Jenna Ortega, though, either you believe in the supernatural or you don't, because she spends the whole first half of the movie shitting on her mom's gift. She doesn't believe in, my mom sees ghosts, especially when it's got a paycheck or whatever. Then she meets this guy, and then 5 minutes later, she's going into the underworld with it. Like, very inconsistent booking here of that character. I feel like I don't know if they really, maybe they had too much to keep track of, and that just kind of fell by the wayside or whatever. But that, to me, felt very odd in the film. What do y'all think?
Well, story-wise, it tracked. She didn't know until that moment that he was even dead.
Well,
so
I thought,
I
thought it was like
if you don't believe in something like the afterlife and all of these supernatural things, and you meet somebody that you like, and 5 minutes later they say, "Oh, hey, go to the underworld with me," which is obviously supernatural. You just buy a hook, line, and sinker, and you go. Like, to me, that didn't feel consistent.
With the promise of seeing her dad again, that was kind of the thing that got her to go.
When have you ever?
Right, I get that.
As the father of teenage daughters, when have you ever seen a teenage girl act rationally?
Oh, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying teenage girls or even grown.
Not even girls, just teenagers. Period. I don't want to point out girls.
Right.
Look, I was a teenager once, and I was irrational as fuck. I look back at it now and sometimes I'm like, God,
right.
But it's like,
I'm saying from a narrative, obviously not the teenage girl point of view here. I'm talking narratively. To me, that felt off of either you believe this or you don't. And let's also not mention how they do not acknowledge whatsoever. There's no line at the end where she tells her mom she can see a ghost. Like, she's obviously got the same gift that Lydia does, and they do nothing to acknowledge with it. They just throw it out there, say, okay, here it is, and then they move on because they've got 15 other storylines that they have to throw at you. That's what I'm saying. They put everything in the pot when they should have seasoned better. But I don't know. They did too much of it.
I thought it was supposed to be more like how the first movie, it's like you see them crash off the bridge and they just walk back home, and then they realize, oh wait, we died. When she smacked that tree,
but at least they acknowledge
pretty
that.
fucking hard. I was like, wait, did she just die? Because they don't reveal it right away. I was like, did she die? Because is she seeing him? I thought coming from a mile away that kid was dead. I was like, he probably can't leave the house or the tree house, and she can see him now.
I thought possibly that was going to be a point where she died, but I was like, they kind of drug that whole like Keystone Cops, thing out of her, like dodging cars and almost dying 17 times before she crashed into the fence and hit the tree. But I was like, I wouldn't have written like that. So that's why I was kind of like, I bet she probably did, but whatever. What got me is like, and they he telegraphed it very, very badly. As soon as they walk into her parents' house for the first time and it doesn't show their faces, I was kind of
he's like, oh, they won't notice. I'm like, oh,
I'm seeing this. It's like, and I know what this movie is. I know Tim Burton's style. I know how this particular universe works. I'm like, yeah, there's something shady about this kid. So
I didn't realize I didn't realize that. Oh wait. Oh, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I died. Like, no, he killed his fucking parents and fell out of the tree. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh shit. Well, damn it.
But honestly, the one person who should have run this movie was Monica Bellucci.
Monica Bellucci. She was
such a great villain. That was the most interesting storyline to me in this entire movie. Yeah, and they gave it no service whatsoever. I thought every moment she was on screen is the only time I felt really, truly excited that I was getting something new that I wanted, because I knew there would be something new in this, and I was okay with it so long as it was a good Beetlejuice movie. But at the same time, I'm like, I need something that's new and exciting. Her storyline was new and exciting. She was actually the one little bit of dread and fear that this movie has, because it's Beetlejuice. Mm-hmm. While it's a comedy horror by definition, it's not really horror the way that Tex watches horror just for shits and giggles. It's not that kind of horror. It's definitely she gives this movie the really seriously dark undertone that it needed to kind of balance out all the goofy shit of Michael Keaton's character. And she just didn't get enough screen time. She could have been what really drove this film to me, and she just wasn't.
So you made this cool character, and then you built her up right out of the gate, like just sucking people, like these dead people's souls out of their body. Like, so you showed that she's just like this unstoppable, almost T-1000 minded thing, where she's like, okay, now I'm going to go find Beetlejuice and kill anything living or dead in my wake. I was like, oh shit, there we go. And when he explained the story, I was like, I could totally believe this is part of, Beetlejuice has been around for a minute. So in between his watchings of The Exorcist, I believe this happened, really. So, and then, like I said, I genuinely thought in part of the movie when they were going on about, of course, with the Dietzes and all that, like I said, I kind of thought, I was like, so where's Monica Bellucci been? Like, did they just forget about that shit? And then there she comes, and I'm like, oh, okay, goodbye. Yep, sandworm. That's you dead.
She had such a cool entrance into this movie, though. I mean, whenever you see those crates rattling and moving, and there's obviously supernatural happening, and then these body parts, which obviously that was CGI, but it looked really crisp, really clean. It looked well.
That was cool.
And whenever you see her grabbing the staple gun and ka-chick, all over the body, like she's both Doctor and Frankenstein's monster at the same time. I thought was genius. It's just such a cool character idea. I would take if they want to do more Beetlejuice, give me a prequel where it's like black and white back in that day, because that looked really cool. That would be fun to see. Just
Beetlejuice silent film.
Beetlejuice.
Well, don't even call it Beetlejuice. Do a spinoff of her character. I mean, if she's a soul sucker, Beetlejuice is obviously not her only victim. She's been doing this a long time.
True.
I think they could do something with that too. But she was just so cool in this movie, and such a waste. I mean, out of all the things that they missed on in this movie, that is definitely at the top of the list.
Right? I agree.
But let's move on to the plot now. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. Did the plot of the film work for you, or was there something in this you would have changed? I mean, I think we've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but I mean, let's go into it a little bit deeper now.
A little bit. It started out like it kind of made sense, like with this right here as a good example of now we're in like a more more modern time of now, of course, this has been capitalized on of Lydia Dietz's gift to be able to see dead people. And even though we've seen these movies, we've seen this stuff, and of course then you see the teleprompter like, yeah, this isn't real. This is just for money. And this is unfortunate. And being with that kind of fame and that kind of gift and things of that nature happening, that like kind of like what Jenna Ortega is saying, it's like you either believe in that or you don't. And if you don't, I mean, there's, you know, with that amount of fame too, it's like people really probably think she's crazy or, you know, just, you know, not genuine, which is probably what, you know, weighs on Jenna Ortega's character. So I get like the family dynamic is like everyone's kind of scattered all over the place. And I don't know. I love I love that I feel like they maybe drug it out a little much with killing Charles. I'm like, I get it. I get that they have to come together for like a funeral, but I'm like, this is like Jurassic World levels of like Zara. She didn't deserve to be picked up by like these little fucking pterodactyls, thrown around, picked up again, thrown over to the fucking thing, eaten by this, and then eaten by this bigger fish, and then pulled back down in the water. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I know he's dead. Holy God.
He's already dead. He's already dead.
Like, he already diddled some kids. I know. God. Christ, man. Okay. But while it's funny to see like a half bitten in half fucking thing of Charles, I don't know, because then I was not expecting Catherine O'Hara to die, but that was something. Sure, I guess now they can be together. I don't know.
But the price of her artwork went up, so she's fine.
That's true. I actually said that out loud. I was like, oh, that's true. So I guess good for you. I love that she still kind of had like a sleazy like artist's perspective on it. Like she was just like, oh, Charles is dead. That's sad. Anyway, this will make some great art. I was like, damn, dude, come on. As much as we're talking about like money being evil, it's like, damn, but she's really capitalizing on all this grief right now. But I guess then again, so is Lydia in a way. Yeah, I don't know. There was kind of a lot going on, and I'd love to know the story of how all of a sudden, you know, as much as everyone in the underworld seemed to just despise Beetlejuice and say like, no, don't work with this guy. Don't. They gave him his own little corner office. I don't know when that happened, but hey, I guess he moved up in the world, didn't he? So, and then of course, once this man builds himself up, here fucking comes the crazy ex-wife. So, damn it, can't let him have anything. No, I don't know. If you're gonna have, you know, I agree with Tex too. Like with Willem Dafoe, I thought like maybe he was gonna be this weird TVA-esque like cop for the underworld or something. Because although he's an actor playing a cop that's dead, I don't know. You know what? There were some fourth wall breaks in this that I actually wasn't expecting. Because he even looks at the camera, he's like, "Oh, let me guess, you're an actor," you know. And of course, they all come from Beetlejuice, so I wouldn't expect anything less. Those were fun. But yeah, I feel like more could have been done with the Monica Bellucci character, especially with how much you built her up and showed her as an unstoppable force coming to kill him. Now, I thought it would have been pretty funny if that was what just suddenly killed him instead of him just ballooning up and getting Willy Wonka out of existence. Just blew up like a blueberry and boom, it's gone. And then, I don't know, you could have wrote a sandworm from the moons of Mars, from the moons of Saturn, and just taking care of that. And then there was just random the ending scene though. All of a sudden, like Jenna Ortega gets married, has a Beetlejuice baby, and then she wakes up. There's Beetlejuice, and then she wakes up again. And it's like, what the fuck? And I was like, huh?
Yeah.
You whiplashed me with about like 3 5-minute scenes at the end there, where I was like, I thought this was over, and then you're like, hey, this happened, goodbye. I was like, huh? Did it happen? Don't do the this was a dream thing to me, because I'm gonna start swinging at somebody. Like, I don't know. It was a fun ride, and I don't know, there's some things I would have changed.
Tex, what do you think? Did you like the plot? What would you have changed if you had a choice?
Well, I would have loved the plot if it was, like I said, if this was like a 10-episode Netflix run. But my God, they just threw everything and the kitchen sink in here. I would have restructured this. Number one, the whole dad dying thing, that took up way too much of the movie, considering what he did, being a diddler and all. Why are you having children sing at the The man who's a diddler, you have his face showing with kids singing behind him. That was the first thing I was like, oh, this is like, that was the dirt. Like, I honestly felt dirty looking at that, knowing. Now, obviously, this is movie in real life. You have to separate it, but you don't do that. Like, it would be like doing a Harvey Weinstein movie and casting Rose McGowan in it. It doesn't feel right. So number one,
there would be something poetic about that though, because he's the one that's dead. He died in a grotesque way, unless you describe. So maybe that's kind of a joke. Is like, the people that you wronged are the ones that are singing at your funeral. Whatever. I mean,
either way, that I would have minimized the death. Keep the dead dying storyline to get them back to the house. That we can keep that. That's fine. But it's, as you say, Frank, one line of dialogue. Oh no, my husband's dead. Then we cut out 20 minutes of crap. We get back to the town. The funeral happens. We never have to talk about Diddler again. And we can focus on the important stuff. And what I mean by important stuff, I'm going to focus on the human side, Jenna Ortega and the boyfriend, because that was a story plotline that really was interesting. The kid that played the dead, wannabe boyfriend, whatever, he intrigued me. I liked what he did with the role. I would have liked to seen more with him and Jenna Ortega. The storyline with Lydia and the douchebag boyfriend, we all knew where that was going a mile away. And just like I said earlier, Justin Theroux sucks. I wouldn't have even had him in the movie. We can still have all of these stories without him in it and focus on that. Then on the underworld side, I would have focused on Beetlejuice and Monica Bellucci. Have all of her entrance to the film be the same, the crate shaking, everything happens. And this is where we can bring in more Willem Dafoe, give him a bigger role, because now we've cut lines from Justin Theroux. We don't have to see Diddler 15 times in this movie. We've got more screen time to play with. And focus on the underworld storyline and the above world storyline. You can tie those in together at the end. Would have made a better plot for a 2-hour movie. Like I said, you either needed two less plot lines or 20 more minutes of screen time to figure this thing out, because there's like 2 movies worth of material in here that they could have played with, but they threw too much at this thing. So,
yeah, of those choices, if it was up to me, I would say not a longer movie necessarily, but definitely cut one of those crappy storylines that were unnecessary and streamline this film a lot more. That would have made I think that would have kept the pacing fantastic. We would have been more interested. I got to be honest. I like Justin Theroux as an actor. His character was completely unnecessary. From what I've read, they kind of put him in there as a bit of an homage to the Otho character from the first movie. But because he is kind of the same character, he's the one that is kind of a shady douchebag in the end. But the bottom line is, I don't need the character in this movie. It's completely unnecessary. And on top of that, the whole engagement with Lydia was like, you've only got so much dialogue you can squeeze into a 2-hour movie that's meaningful. I mean, you got to crack a couple of jokes in a Beetlejuice movie, so you got to give Michael Keaton his chance to cook. But so the rest of the dialogue has got to be good. It's got to be meaningful. It's got to help grow your story to its climax. And it seems like everything about Lydia's wedding and everything that Justin Theroux did was like, it was completely needless. It did absolutely nothing to help the story.
It went too long, I think.
They had too much emphasis on it. Honestly, as much as I like Catherine O'Hara's death, I don't think it was needed. I mean, that was weird. You could have had her die later in the movie. I mean, I like the fact that she died. That from a story aspect wasn't bad.
It was fun.
But I was like, I think it could have been done towards the end of the movie. Maybe it made the third act a bit more meaningful, a bit more of a shock. But the way they handled it, I just think it was too long-winded. It just like I said, you've only got so much dialogue to really work your story up to where it needs to be when you're not giving the jokes out, and it's like you're burning dialogue on shit that is really meaningless. That's one of the reasons why I think even the good reviews have said that the story was a little disconjointed or convoluted or whatever word you want to use, that it was just all over the place. And I think those particular storylines are one of the things that did it. Another thing that really kind of aggravated me at the end, God, that ending kill of the 2 assholes at the end by just calling it a sandworm. I was just like, are you kidding me? I was like, Justin Theroux's character being taken out so easily, I was fine with, because he was not important to me anyway. But it's like Monica Bellucci's character. It's like she's She's sucking the souls out of. She's killing people who are already dead. That's how OP she is. And it's like,
right.
so she rolls up on the scene, and she wants to wreck shop and do her business. And all that Lydia Jr. has to do is draw a door and knock on it 3 times, and the sailor comes out and beats her. I'm like, come on! I want to see a little bit of a fight. Let me see some sorcery going back, some spells going back and forth between her and Beetlejuice for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or Willem Dafoe's character was there. Let him get into a gunfight with her or some shit like that. Make her take these people out in a way that's going to take some effort. But it's like, give me something. She walks in, she stands in the church while everything is going on for 3 or 4 minutes. The sailor comes out, eats them both, and then she's gone. And I'm like, you spent so much time in that killer intro with her, like Tex was saying, that when she comes into the movie, that was a really cool scene. When she's like stapling herself together and she's like calling over her own body parts and shit. I'm like, that's pretty wild. I was thinking that. And they spend most of the movie, the little bit of the movie she's in, building her up to be someone who can kill dead people because she's so strong. She's so powerful, she's going to suck Beetlejuice's soul right out. But then she walks in there, and then it's like Jenna Ortega, the mere mortal, who was just some little goth girl who
just believed in this shit 5 minutes ago, too.
Yeah,
who only found out Gough was real 15 minutes before. It's the one who's just like, I know how to beat her because I read the book. Door, knock, she's done. And I'm like, come on, get out of here with that bullshit.
She is the only one who made sense of the damn book. I guess that's fair.
I know.
Yeah.
This thing made sense.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
I wanted more out of some certain aspects of this movie, and I just didn't get it.
Have we had 2 legacy sequels this year where there's a love story between a dead person and an alive person from Ghostbusters Afterlife or whatever the newest one was and this film? Have we seen that twice this year already?
I mean, she was like an actual ghost, but she didn't get eaten by a sandworm. But yeah,
right. But you get my point, though. Like, somebody's copying somebody's homework here. Like, come on, Hollywood, get a little more creative than that. So.
Yeah, just like I watched the kill count again because I was bored and I've been in pain for the past 2 days. But I watched their kill count of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was like, yeah, we kind of did the same thing. We made definitely not Sally into fucking Jamie Lee Curtis's character, carbon
God, I hate
like a year apart. I'm like, can we not just keep copying the same? God damn it!
Yeah,
another thing that I just realized just now is I'm like, they kind of just, as much as she being Jenna Ortega, you can tell she loves her dad to death, even though he is dead. And as much as she hinged on that, and I was like, you actually got to spend time with him, like you and Lydia. And then I'm like,
yeah,
okay, we're just gonna walk out now. We're gonna let that go. We're not gonna try and think about maybe we could try to see him.
There was zero chemistry in that family bonding scene in the underworld.
Well,
I know
it was sweet, but I was like, we're just gonna walk away from that now. As much as she really wanted to see him, and then we're just kind of letting it go. She didn't have like a thing of like understanding that she couldn't bring him back or something, which is like, oh, okay. And he's like, here, I'm gonna get you guys out and save you because the underworld's going to shit at the moment. I was like,
well, even with Lydia in that scene, like I don't remember. Were they split up when he died, or they were together when he died, right?
I think they said.
I think they were separated. I think it says they were separated in the movie.
Were they separated? I can't remember because if they
trip and died, right?
Yeah, but I don't think it ever clearly states the marital status of them, is what I'm saying. If those two were still a couple when he died, and that's your reunion, you get to see him in the underworld, there was zero chemistry between those two, between Winona Ryder and the fish-eating dead guy, which, by the way, great effects on that that design that they did on that. With the fish still like wagging out of his neck and everything else. That was hilarious to see.
It's like, well, between Justin Theroux and this guy,
if that's not a Funko Pop,
oh god,
if that's not a Funko Pop, I don't know what they're doing because that needs to be one. But I'm going to have to disagree with Frank on something here, though. I think Catherine O'Hara was great in this film. To me, Winona Ryder was
no, Catherine O'Hara was great.
I wanted less of her and more of Catherine O'Hara.
A little weird.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying the death. I'm talking about every time Catherine O'Hara was on the screen, I laughed. She said or did something that made me laugh in this film. Whereas Winona Ryder, it felt like she was doing the same mom from Stranger Things, just in golf clothes. Like, to me, it kind of really felt like the same performance. Whereas Catherine O'Hara, she was, when she's screaming into the camera and taking pictures to get her emotions out, that was the both dumbest and one of the funniest things that was in this movie. It was, I enjoyed her performance.
Even just the little look she does, like when she gets up and Winona Ryder's walking out, she's like, "Oh, are you considering the marriage?" She turns around like she's all excited about it.
That's what I'm saying. It's just the comedic timing of her. It was fun. She was. I enjoyed her in this film. I thought Winona Ryder kind of mailed it in a little bit, maybe, but that's just me.
Even that redirect where they Justin Theroux thought like it was Lydia screaming. And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and she's like, "That was Mom." "Oh, I'm so sorry." She's like, "I'm good. No, goodbye." I don't need your help, man. It wants nothing to do with him, and it's so great.
Yeah, there is something though, and I'm going to state a relatively unpopular opinion here. It's not going to go over well with a lot of people. You guys will think of it what you will. I think you guys might at least understand what I'm getting at. As far as not having Jeffrey Jones around, look, I understand why. I understand why. I'm not going to go into why, but I understand why. I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
But the reason it took me a minute to figure out who the guy with no head was, it's like the voice threw me off. Because while we just talked about.
Well, how do you even have a voice when you don't have a torso? Come on now.
He's a ghost. Suspend your disbelief for a moment for this movie. It's Beetlejuice, for Christ's sake. We're not looking at actual physics here.
This isn't real, man. It's not real.
The cake was fake too in the wedding scene at the end. Just that'll piss you off.
Oh.
But I was just like, really, you couldn't have brought him in for the voice. I mean, I would have. I would have at least. Now maybe I don't know if he did or didn't. I'm just talking out of my ass here. Maybe Tim Burton knocked around the idea of calling up Jeffrey Jones and being like, "Hey, I'll give you some money for a voice." And for a voiceover thing, we're not going to put your face on camera. It's level with him. Be like, look, your legal stuff is why your face is in the movie, but just give me some voiceover stuff. You'll make some money and it'll be fine. I was kind of like, it was too different for me to easily accept that he was playing the father character. I was like, the voiceover wouldn't have bothered me too much. Not having him in the movie, except for his picture in a couple places, is fine. But I mean, a voiceover I don't think would have bothered me too much. I know some people are very sensitive about that kind of thing, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. I'm just saying that for me, I think it would have been better if they had at least let him do some voiceover. That's one thing. I know people will shit on me for it. That's fine. I understand if you think I'm wrong. I get it. But that's just me not having any skin in the game, so to speak. The other thing that gets me is the crazy ex-wife, Michael Bellucci's character, should have driven this entire movie. You could have gotten rid of all the stuff was dumb. The parents of the boy, you could have just had him be there, and like when she walks in for the first time, his parents just not be home. He could say they're not home, and then you stumble across their bodies in the basement later or something, and not have to fuck with them at all. That could have been your reveal. I don't mind having him around, but I mean, she needed to be the main bad guy. Beetlejuice needed to be the one that was getting pulled between all these things, and Lydia could be handling the stuff with her daughter, and that would have been the movie right there. There was so much other stuff that they spent time on in this movie that was just not important. I feel like that would have been better. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you have been okay with Jeffrey Jones at least doing some voiceover stuff? Because I imagine he would have been able to read these lines in about a day and a half.
I stand by what I said earlier. I would have had open the movie, one line of dialogue, have Catherine O'Hara calling Winona Ryder, "Oh, your dad's dead, blah, blah, blah," whatever, and then move on and forward. I wouldn't have had, now, like I said, I haven't seen the charges, but apparently he went through the legal system for it and was convicted of something. So I wouldn't have had him involved whatsoever. I wouldn't have even showed his face, and I definitely would not have had children singing at his funeral for what he was being accused. Whoever thought that was a good idea, don't listen to that person because they're a nasty person. But I would have distanced myself as far as you didn't need him. You had 15 other plots. We don't need that one. That's one of the ones I would have cut. But I don't know. I got to disagree on that.
I agree with Tex that, like, I don't know how I would be speaking if I was missing half of my fucking torso, which includes my head.
Right.
And I get that they were trying to cover it with, like, you still saw, like, that little whatever part of his esophagus, something like bubbling up, gurgling blood, so that was kind of covering the effect. But I have to agree with Frank. I'm like, yeah, it took me out because I was like, I know that's not his voice. It just doesn't fit the character. I don't know. It didn't really seem like it felt like, even if you were trying to portray Jeffrey Jones, it didn't feel right. But the other thing, again, on the other side of the fence is I'm like, I don't think you really needed to show his face, because I was like, you not getting him for the voice is one thing, but I'm like, you had to have at least gotten something to get his likeness, right, and use his pictures. Because, like, you put a picture of him on the grave, and you had, because when they showed that, of course, they had the stop motion claymation of something in this movie, and they used it to show the plane crash. I'm like, that looks dangerously like Jeffrey. Oh, oh my God, wow, oh my God. Okay, well, and then you know what? The most disrespectful, not even the kids is one thing, but the most disrespectful thing is to make your goddamn gravestone a fucking shark fin after you got bitten in half by a shark. Really? Did you just say you hated the guy? Good God, he had a hobby, watching birds, watching kids, whatever. But like, Jesus, you could have given the man at least a decent headstone. I don't know.
Yeah.
God damn.
I mean, the headstone I think is funny, but it's like, I feel like it's like like the town that they're in, this fictional town they're in the movie. It's a very homely, rural town where people aren't that gaudy.
Oh, I love that.
So the fact that you had,
I love that town.
So the fact that you had such an over-the-top headstone in a cemetery where there's going to be a lot of like small little nameplates, very normal looking headstones, that fits the Dietz family very, very well and how they've existed.
I bet Catherine O'Hara's character fucking modeled it too. Like, she made that herself. God damn it, she probably did.
They put a funeral shroud over the house. Like that made me
hilarious. I was laughing balls at that. I was like, they shrouded that.
That was good.
I told my old lady, I said, when I die, if you don't put a camo shroud over our entire home, you don't care about me whatsoever. So, you know,
if you don't make my headstone something relevant to how I died,
right.
I'm gonna haunt your ass until you do.
If I don't get a wood chipper shaped headstone, by God, I'm haunting the entire family. So it's all good. So it's or like a chainsaw or something. I don't know, something cool. I don't know. It's whatever.
Texas is gonna be like little bits instead of a jar in the afterlife, sitting on the couch. Like, you just gotta.
Oh, hey, I'm getting cremated either way, so you can put me in like a coffee can and I'm good. Or actually, the Terrifier 3 popcorn buckets came out, so that's what I'm going in already. But I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a funeral. Like, it's gonna cost me like maybe $30 for funeral plans. I don't need no $5,000 casket. I'll get a $30 popcorn bucket. Right? Yeah, I'm good to go. Yeah, it's all good. No worries.
He's doing the Morgan Freeman thing where he's like, I just want to be buried in a coffee can. I don't really care. You know.
Right,
I was thinking a bottle of Jack Daniels earlier. We're just gonna pour one out and then just like put his ashes in there.
Oh yeah. Just
we're gonna hug him at a Twister.
Mix the two. Yeah, mix the two. Just soak me in alcohol and put me in the Arthur Clown popcorn bucket. I'm good to go. I'll be happy in the afterlife. So we're fine.
But let's ask this question. I mean, was it a worthy sequel? I mean, legacy sequels, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Whether they're good or not, it's up for debate. I think it's individually. We have to look at them. But, I mean, I'll go to you first, Jeremy. Do you think this is a worthy sequel to the original, which is classic?
If you keep that picture up for a second, I'm going to make a really deep cut that probably only someone my age is going to understand. I love that not only can you draw a door, but apparently you can turn this into fucking chalk zone. And whatever you draw on the damn wall all of a sudden becomes real. So the fact that he can just, Johnny Blaze his little fucking thumb up like that and launch blow a back door essentially into the blow a black door into the underworld, conveniently where his office was. But I mean, who cares? There's no rules in here. I like that it did kind of keep the as convoluted as I said, like the first movie and this one kind of can be. It's like that it's like there is a very loose set of rules, kind of, but we're just like, yeah, we can kind of just make shit up, and it's like it doesn't really bother me that you really can just kind of make anything up, because there are some rules, like apparently, Jenna Ortega read the right page, like, hey, yeah, Beetlejuice broke this rule. It's like, oh, yeah, got me. I think it worked. And I'm not usually one for legacy sequels, obviously. But I guess I had fun with the movie. There was just, some stuff that I feel like we've been saying that could have been a little more touched on. No, sorry about that. Jesus. I didn't mean to say touched on.
We're going to have to watch the Burbs whenever we're doing this review here. We've each got one, so, we can't do any more. So we've met our limit.
We should review The Birds, actually, by Hitchcock. That'd be fun.
I'd be down.
Yeah, throwback. That's a real retro review. No, I think it worked as a sequel that, what is it now, almost not quite 30 some plus years removed from the original. I don't know, I feel like it had something, but not just not quite enough, like we were saying. I thought maybe we'd have a little more credence to the fact that I'm pretty sure Monica Bellucci could have wiped the fucking floor with that worm, but then again, what are we gonna do? The worm's already marketable, so we can't have her kill it. Probably, like it's the only space worm in fucking the moon of Saturn, which I don't think it is. So I don't know.
I don't know. Tex, what do you think? Was it a worthy sequel compared to the first one, or do you maybe think it was just time to leave it alone?
I can't say I disliked the movie because I did have fun with it, but as far as legacy sequels go, judging it within that set of that parameter of guidelines, I'd say this is kind of mid-tier. This is definitely no Top Gun Maverick or Twisters, but it's better than a lot of legacy sequels were. We needed more Michael Keaton. He was amazing in this film. And yes, I know we only got 14 and a half minutes in the first one, so we're holding the standard here, but we needed more Keaton. The dude still got it. He's great. The town was amazing. Like that town felt like Haddonfield, like from a Michael Myers movie. Like especially on Halloween night, whenever they showed everything, it looked so good. Legacy sequel wise, it was fine. Nothing special here. I'm not going to go out of my way to see this one again. I've seen it, fine. If I come across it, whatever. But it was, it just kind of middle of the pack. When I get my rating later, you'll see where I stand on it. But, it's kind of middle of the pack. It depends on what you look for.
I thought you were going to include it on your list of movies that take place during Halloween, because it did take place during Halloween this time.
I would have, but
it's in there.
I'll touch on that in my final whatever, but yeah, we'll get
okay.
Yeah,
I've got other thoughts.
Yeah, generally speaking, worthy sequel. I'll call it that. I talked about it the other day when we did our review of the original Beetlejuice film. I just wanted something that fit. I didn't want it to be overly grand. I didn't want it to be a $250 million extravaganza. Don't make this into a Marvel movie. Just give me something that fits. I think by and large it did. My problems with the overall look and the tone and the characters. I don't really have a problem with any of those things. They fit into the universe very well. My problem is really just with story and kind of execution, which it so often is when I have a problem with the movie. It's really all in execution. I wanted something like this. It wasn't an overblown story. You brought in kind of a bigger bad guy, which was fine, but it's a bad guy that fits into this world. It's grounded in this universe. So it wasn't like, Thanos or somebody that can destroy a whole world or a universe. It was just somebody who'd have to kill Beetlejuice. She's not have to kill anybody but him, but she'd have found him as soon as she came out of the box. Movie over. And that would have been it. I'm not saying that she would have been nice to everybody she'd have seen after that, but that would have been, that's her whole point. She's not trying to kill everybody. She's trying to kill one person. But, overall, I think it was a fair enough sequel. I didn't hate it. Look, like I said, I've already gone over my thoughts. It's got its problems. So, some of the story and, the 2 or 3 storylines it didn't need. A few characters were kind of meaningless. But for the most part, I thought it fit pretty well. Is it as good as the original? Not even close. Not even the same ballpark.
No.
If I'm giving any ratings to movies, which I don't, in this universe, the first one's a 10. This one at best is a 7, and I'm saying at best, meaning most days I would look at it and call it probably a 5. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling when I'm watching it. It's not I mean, it's got its moments for sure. The Beetlejuice stuff is good.
Yeah.
The Lydia stuff is good, but their interactions were fun. They were the same as they were in the first movie, which was great. The rest of the stuff, there's just a lot of clutter in this movie that I didn't like. It took away from what should have been the better storylines in this, and it kind of weighed the movie down a little bit. But let me ask you this. I mean, I'll go to you first, Tex. Do you think there is a future for a third one? Because a lot of people wondered if there would be another Ghostbusters sequel, and we did end up getting one, like it or not. The legacy, there's another apparently Top Gun sequel that is being worked on. What that's going to look like if it ever comes to pass, I don't know. So there's some news dropped in the last 24 hours or so that I choose not to believe because nobody important or reputable is reporting on it. The Goonies 2 is going to be shot at some point in the next year and is going to be coming out by 2026. I personally think that was fake. I think it's just one of those stupid stories that
I haven't heard that one.
I think it's one of those stories that's absolute bullshit, and it caught fire because somebody with 10,000 followers on Twitter decided to fucking retweet it, and now everybody thinks it's real. I don't think that's actually a real story. But I mean, legacy sequels aren't going anywhere. So, Tex, what do you think? Future for this franchise?
Just as I stated when we reviewed the first Beetlejuice, they have to make a third one just for the namesake. You're telling me they don't want to do a Beetlejuice? I don't know what this has done box office wise, but I know every time, like I just randomly would check on the AMC app just to see what kind of tickets were sold. And for almost every afternoon viewing, theaters were at least a quarter full for this movie in my local area. So it has to be making some kind of money. Michael Keaton's hot right now. I mean, yeah, Flash and this movie weren't great, but he was great in those movies. So, especially with the way this movie ended with a couple maybe dream sequences, who knows? You know, we're dealing with an unreliable narrator and dream sequences. I would expect a third one of some sort. I think you'd be crazy to not see another one. So I'd say, yeah.
You know, just looking at the numbers, I mean, it's made back its budget already. And from what I've read, they spent about $100 million in advertising and all that. So you're looking at $200 million to break even. It's already got 147. I mean, this movie is gonna be profitable by the end of this weekend. And so, and if it has legs, and I think it probably will. It's not gonna make $1 billion, but if it makes 300 million, if they profit about 100 million off it, when all is said and done, which I think it'll probably get more than that, not a whole lot more, but it'll probably profit between 1 and 200 million. I mean, as long as you can keep the budget down and you can not let this be like a pet project for Tim Burton and Michael Keaton and you know, whoever wants to come back, it's like, if you're spending 100 million, maybe 115, I would say go ahead and make a third one if you got a good story. But I mean, in my heart, I'm like, leave this shit alone. I mean, it wasn't a sequel that I necessarily had a lot of hope for. I mean, I wanted it to be good, but my realistic expectations were not equal to that. But I mean, I left there having had a fun time for all the problems I had with the movie and the structure of it and all. I had a good time. You know, it was a fun movie, and I would rather you end this franchise on a decent note than to end it on a terrible note, which is what you always run the risk of if you try to stretch it out to one more movie. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, Tex for sure will know. It's like there's a handful of horror franchises out there that are on their 9th, 10th, 12th movie, and it gets to the point where it's just like all you're doing is you're basically taking the best scenes of the first 9 movies, throwing them into a 10th movie, and calling it like the greatest hits CD. It's like there's nothing new. It's like, yeah, it's entertaining, but it's like it's not long lasting. It doesn't have the same effect as like the original movie did back in the 70s or 80s or even 90s. It's like, you know, once you get that deep into a franchise, it's really hard to keep it new and fresh. I'd say let this be the end. I don't really need a Beetlejuice. I don't need a Beetlejuice cube or whatever the hell they want to call this next one.
That's what you call that. That version is that. Now that's what I call Horror 13.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have ended this movie differently. And you know, the whole Jenna Ortega getting married, having a kid, and Beetlejuice Jr. comes out. I would have had that be real, and that's how I would have ended the movie, and that's how I would have went on to a third movie. I think if there is a human, if there's a human Beetlejuice that's the grandson of Lydia, are you like, obviously they've been married, but it wasn't real because on page 600, was it 669 or whatever they say in the movie, they weren't actually married. They could play up the whole, oh, we were together. No, we weren't. And then there's a baby to deal with. That could be something you could have fun with, but they played it off as dreams, so whatever. I would say you're probably going to get one, but who knows? We'll say.
Like I said, keep the budget down and fine tune the story. Not so much garbage. I think you could make something that works. That's likable by the hardcore fans, and is also a decent enough movie. Something that will be a good finale. Look, if you make a third one, it better be the damn end. I don't want to see Beetlejuice 27 or some other kind of bullshit reboot. Beetlejuice. They'll do it Halloween. They'll go back to they'll make the fifth one. It'll just be called Beetlejuice. It'll be Beetlejuice Kills. Then Beetlejuice Ends. And in the end, Lydia throws the body into a fucking wood chipper.
Never listen to, especially a horror franchise that has the final chapter or ends or any sort of finality. Never believe them, because if it makes enough money, somehow Jason's going to come back up out of that grave and he's going to haunt. It's the new generation, or it's whatever it is. So never believe them when they say that. So
it wasn't the final destination. We found out.
There you go.
They're gonna make Michael Keaton do this till he's 90. He's really like 70. So I mean,
which
we're gonna know 20 years.
Which actually, for a character that's already dead, kind of works, because if he looks like crap, well, he's dead. He's supposed to, so it's fine.
Keep deteriorating, yeah. I will say, from the makeup standpoint, I was gonna say he actually still looks pretty damn good with all that makeup on.
He looked pretty close. I can see his age in a couple shots. I don't know if this is one of the ones or not. It's like that was not so bad. There were a couple of shots where his age was showing through the makeup a bit, but it wasn't so bad that it took me out of the movie.
His age showed the most when in that black and white. Whenever he was grave robbing, whenever he was not in the green, and that's where it really showed. He's plumped up and he's definitely aged. Like you could tell in that scene. So,
But that's the wonder of makeup. You can cover that up and you're like,
right, of course, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, a certain level of disbelief you have to take into a movie like this, which,
not
me
to mention the
complaining
fact we're talking about a dead guy.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm also the same guy that bitches. I'm also the same guy that was bitching about a half-eaten guy talking out of a hole in his torso 10 minutes ago, but whatever.
I will say the one thing that was at least comedic about it is when he sat down on that couch, he sits next to the surfer who's got like half his arm bit off in the board, and I was like, you too. Like,
See, in that scene right there, I thought they were going to combine the two, and then Catherine O'Hara would get her younger, still her husband technically, but had a younger face. I thought that's where that scene was going, by the way. But I was wrong.
A joint marriage account?
Right. Right.
There's something in the book somewhere about it, I'm sure. I don't know. I didn't read it.
Let's get into some trivia now. And for being a newer movie, I found a surprising amount of trivia on this. Now, some of it was kind of dumb, but I mean, there were a couple of good gems in here. Let's see. The part that we've talked about already, the death of Charles Dietz. That whole animated sequence was actually inspired by a nightmare that Tim Burton had about his own death.
Really?
All right.
So Tim Burton,
you and Stephen
crashes
King
out of a
do some
plane.
lines of cocaine and make a cool story. Jesus.
Hey, they say Tim Burton's a one-trick pony, and after watching this, I believe them because he has nothing else besides weird, creepy. So yeah, I believe it.
I mean, sure.
See, Tim Burton has said that this film would only ever be made if Michael Keaton would return to reprise his role. Keaton said in March of 2014 that this is the only sequel that he was ever interested in doing, which is probably why he ended up playing Batman in The Flash. But to be fair, that's about the time. That's actually, I think, a little bit after they even announced the Flash movie, because they announced the Flash movie, probably 10 years before it actually hit theaters. Because all kinds
that
of
Flash movie was announced at the same time as Batman v Superman was coming out. Like that one's been a long time coming. That's been like 3 or 4 different rewrites ago. So
Well, I would imagine it was way more than 3
It's
or 4.
not like he didn't,
that movie hadn't been rewritten at least 10 times. Probably more, in all honesty.
It's not like he didn't play Batman twice.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Keaton was recently asked about the Batgirl movie being canceled. He's like, "Yeah, I don't really care. I got a nice paycheck out of it." Like he got a nice paycheck, so he gives a crap. Right? Yeah. It's like, oh, you mean this movie's not going to come out? Oh, I get paid. Okay, we're fine.
Use my footage. Don't use my footage. I already spent that money, so.
I guess that's fair. The only thing you want to do again is maybe Batman and obviously, Beetlejuice. So, and I don't think any of us would accept it less, to be fair.
Well, there's certain roles it's going to be really hard to recast. Like, I would say recasting Tobin Bell in a Saw remake is going to be hard. Recasting Michael Keaton in a Beetlejuice movie is going to be hard. Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. There are certain roles because it's not just a mask you're hiding behind. It's literally the person and their personality. And it's going to be really hard for anybody. And another one would be Wolverine, I would throw in there with Hugh Jackman. But, there's just some roles.
They did try to replace Freddy Krueger, and it didn't go so well. I'm like, I love
I thought Jackie.
However,
I thought Jackie Earle Haley did well, but you're good luck. I mean, people love Robert Englund. Like,
that's kind of the example of how recasting can be so touchy. It's like, I think that's probably one of the better guys they could have gotten to take over the role, and it still didn't work with the fans.
Oh, I do too. Yeah,
I didn't mind it. I mean, my problem was like I grew up on the original Nightmare on Elm Street, so it's like anytime you move off of that in a way, it's not going to feel the same. But I mean,
the problem with the problem with the Nightmare on Elm Street was obviously we know Freddy Krueger is kind of a diddler. We all know that. Even Wes Craven, he didn't. Yeah. He let you know what was going on, but he didn't like Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave levels of showing it to you.
Yeah, we know what he did.
He touched on it and moved on. Whereas the remake, not only they slammed you in the face with it, but then they smeared it around like it was a pie or something. And I think that just gave people such a bad taste that's why that one didn't work. And for something like Keaton with Beetlejuice, he's so synonymous. His face is Beetlejuice. Like, Keaton's such an expressive actor. He doesn't really use a lot of prosthetics with the Beetlejuice makeup. It's just exterior paint and whatever. Mm-hmm. So you're literally seeing Michael Keaton in the role. That's why it's going to be hard to read. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You could that's Michael Keaton. Even if they didn't know Beetlejuice, you would see Michael Keaton in that. So I don't. Yeah. I mean, any role could be recast, but I don't think it's going to be good if they did.
Well, I was going to say with horror, it's like with Jason, with Leatherface, with Michael, you can hide that. You don't have to show the person. That's why we used Freddy Krueger as an example because it's Robert Englund. You see his face. He is of those other three. He does actually talk. He has these mannerisms, these goofy lines and shit that he does. He brings that to the character, and it's like that's hard to replicate. So with something like Beetlejuice as well, like we were saying, you see his face, you just let him riff, you let him do his thing, and that's it's not an easy thing to do. So I get why that's hard. Well, it's a masked character, and full jumpsuits and face masks and lake water. I don't know. It's easy to cover that up. You can still bring a presence to it. There is still a presence to Jason, to Michael, to Leatherface. Don't get me wrong, but when you don't speak, it's like it's not something you have to really worry about.
So moving on to the next piece of trivia. Winona Ryder only had one condition when she first met Stranger Things creators Matt and Ross Duffer for a role that they would want her to play on the Netflix series. That condition was, if Beetlejuice 2 ever got off the ground, they would have to let her leave and take a break from the series to film Beetlejuice 2. And they agreed. You know why I don't think this is that big of a deal? Because it's like 12 years between seasons for Stranger Things anyway.
I was like, did they just start? Right. I think we're going to be okay.
I would imagine she had plenty of time to film a couple of things in between seasons of Stranger Things.
It's already been.
It's going to take a year, like I think a little over 12 months to do Stranger Things season 5. Considering every episode is like an hour long, and it's like as long as the last episode of the previous season was. Each episode is like a mini movie, and that's how they described it. So yeah, she's got time to kill, I would imagine, between the upside down and the underworld. So I think we're good. So
it's gonna take longer to do that. It's like you can bang out this movie and be done with it, but I think you're gonna be okay with. You'll still be in Stranger Things. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, everything that she shot in this movie wasn't really CG heavy on her part. So I mean, it wouldn't have been hard to work around. So maybe a month or so. I don't know what production, how long production was, but it couldn't have been that bad.
One of the best decisions they could have made for this movie. Both Michael Keaton and director Tim Burton opted to keep the character as politically incorrect as he was in the original film due to their love for that character trait in spite of political correctness in modern films. Because they say Beetlejuice doesn't evolve.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the character. Like we said before we saw this, we're like, you're going to ruin this character if you try to make him like politically correct in some way or not make him perm at least a little bit. Like, yeah, like he even threw that line in there real quick when he's like, "Oh, yeah, she's a soul sucker." He's like, "Yeah, you can say that again." I'm like, "God damn it, dude!"
Yeah,
just
that was
little jabs like that.
That was the line that made every dad in my theater laugh whenever he said that line. That was the line that got the adult male out there.
Yep, there he is.
The kids don't know what you're talking about. We know.
Yeah, we do.
We know what you're saying. Yeah.
Let's see. Beetlejuice 2. God, talk about bad timing. Beetlejuice 2 was a day and a half away from finishing principal photography before the actor strike began.
Oh,
really?
Wow. Oh, damn.
See, maybe if you're a day and a half away, maybe you're like, oh, nobody answer your cell phone. If we pretend like we don't know the strike happened, we can get this thing done. Like we just.
One of the things.
Oh, sorry, the phones were dead. Whatever.
Well, one of the things that occurs to me is despite the fact the strike had started and production stopped, there were several waivers that were given to certain productions for various reasons. I don't know what all the reasons were, but I'm wondering why they wouldn't have just tried to get one of these waivers and said, look, 2 more days, that's all I need. It's not like I have another 6 weeks of principal photography.
Like you're done.
2 days. Can I get a waiver for 2 days for my actors? And the fact that they didn't get it it's just odd to me because there were some really small productions that managed to get production waivers during the strike. And I mean, stuff that like TV shows and stuff that had a significant amount of time in front of the camera. You had 2 days left in this movie. Why weren't they calling somebody being like, hey, I need to talk to somebody at SAG about getting a waiver for my actors so I can get this done and start getting the process going on editing and whatnot. But I'm really surprised they didn't do that. But just 2 days left in a movie like this, very weird, very weird. But the flip side of that is you've got a couple of big name actors in Michael Keaton. You've got Winona Ryder. You've got some big names in here. I don't know that they would necessarily give those the writers that were given out, the waivers rather that were given out. I don't know that they were necessarily for really big productions with big names. The couple names of these productions I have read are things I've never heard of. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to give it to such a big name. But Jeremy, we talked about what could have been with casting. I want you to think on this for just 1 second.
Bob.
Christopher Walken was originally offered the role of Wolf Jackson before it was given to Willem Dafoe.
Damn! Don't make me pick between those two.
We talk all the time about what could have been with casting, when a particular actor or actress been good or better in that role. I don't know, man. This is the toughest one I think we've had to discuss.
Yeah,
that's
Dafoe,
one where
Walken.
Yeah, that's one where it's like we can be like, take that one out, take that one out. That would have worked. This one maybe. Oh no, dude, you're gonna make me choose between Walken and fucking Willem Dafoe.
I'm not gonna make you choose because that's a hard choice. I wouldn't.
I gotta
put you on there like that.
No,
I'd still go with Dafoe. Like, I think Walken would have done it extra over the top, and kind of what made this great was he was over the top, but he was kind of subtle with it at the same. Dafoe was kind of subtle with it, like he was not. I think Walken, to put it more simply, he would have played it more as a spoof, whereas Dafoe played it more serious as an actor pretending, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like he took it seriously. You still realize where he's like, no, that's bad. Let me do that again. Like, hey,
Right.
you're just playing a cop. Like, it still makes it funny. Would I have wanted it to actually be a little more meta and funny? Sure. And if it came from Christopher Walken, I mean, oh, man.
Now, don't get me wrong. If in some alternate timeline Christopher Walken did play in this movie, I want to get the, Jim, I want to get the stone to go to that timeline and see that version of the movie. But I think Willem Dafoe was good.
We've got AI deepfakes now. We can make that movie happen. Whatever.
Right, we can AI our own Beetlejuice movie.
Yeah.
I would like to see Christopher Walken show up on like Saturday Night Live and do a skit of him playing this role just for shit.
Playing a role. He's the dude playing the.
They should have had Christopher Walken be Beetlejuice's dad. That's what I would have cast.
We're probably going to get a sequel. So,
yeah.
If we're going to get a sequel, go big. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that I was thinking of a little bit ago when you were talking about Lydia and her ex-husband, whatever, and Jenna Ortega's dad. I think that role would have been more significant if you had gotten a bigger actor. Like, that was where you wanted the cameo.
Yeah.
While I enjoyed Danny DeVito as the janitor in the first part of the movie, that's where you wanted like a big name. Dude, bring up fucking Sean Astin, since they worked together in Stranger Things. Wouldn't that have been a better pairing?
I was really surprised. Like, now, after, obviously I didn't know that the dad role was going to be a thing, but driving home from the theater, I looked at my old lady and said, I'm really surprised that Johnny Depp did not play the role of the dad in this movie. Because that seems like a very...
That would have been funny. That would have been a perfect cameo.
That's what I'm saying. That was one of the thoughts that I had leaving the theater.
He doesn't have to carry the movie. He just has to show up and act for like 5 minutes.
He's in it for 5 minutes, and he's out.
He's already got the little tattoo for Winona Ryder. It all works.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I didn't forget.
It could have been meta because, hey, Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder, the whole tattoo, Johnny Depp, Tim Burton connection. I'm surprised he didn't have something to do with this. So I'm really surprised.
It would have been funny if the dad was Hopper and they look like little demigorgons instead of fucking like.
That could have been fun. Yeah, that would have been good.
Like demigorgon fish. That'd have been great.
There we go. Let's see. Lydia hosts her own paranormal investigation show called Ghost House. While this is a perfect name for the series, it is also a cheeky reference to what could have been the 1988 film's title if Warner Brothers had gotten their way. Ghost House was actually almost the name of the first movie. Screenwriter Al Ghost told Variety they didn't like Beetlejuice. Tim really had to fight hard to call it Beetlejuice.
See, hold that picture up there for a minute.
To say the name.
Imagine Stranger Things season 1 whenever they're trying to get Will out from the upside down and there's lights all in that 80s living room. Tell me that doesn't look exactly the same with that wood grain television sitting right there.
You don't see the alphabet back there on the wall?
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. That was one of the. I was like, I think they purposely did this as well. Be like, we've got, Stranger Things mom in a Stranger Things kind of house. Like, that very much reminded me of that.
Actually, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but the lights in the background are set up exactly like the lights that are over the model town in the attic.
I didn't pick up on that one.
I see it now. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Let's see. The music featured in the ending montage.
I hated
the dream. The Dream of the Nightmare is featured in the ending montage of Carrie from 1976.
That musical number, I wanted to throw popcorn at the screen. I hated that part of the movie. That was
not the musical number. In the ending montage when they're going through her Lydia and Jenna Ortega are traveling through the world and like she meets someone, gets married, yada yada yada. That musical number is the same number that played at the ending of Carrie in 1976.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I was like, okay, I don't know what that had to. I don't know. That ending just gave me whiplash. I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? That's it. Okay. Well, see you next time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the way that he ends this movie, the last 3-4 minutes of it with that traveling montage of them and whatever stupid dream sequence that was, I'm wondering if that was Tim Burton's way of kind of finalizing everything. Because, yeah, you can say, Beetlejuice blows up and then explodes at the end or whatever. I mean, whatever. He had his head shrunk in the last movie.
But he's already dead. I mean, he's already dead.
Comedy horror movie about a ghost. There's nothing saying that he can't come back. You don't even have to explain how he comes back. He just does.
No.
So, but I mean, I wonder if that was kind of his way of finalizing this franchise and saying, "Yeah, we're probably not going to do anything more." But I don't know. I think they made it really more. But let's see. Arthur Conti auditioned for the role over a Zoom call with Tim Burton and a chemistry test with Jenna Ortega, receiving the news that he got the part on April Fool's Day, leading him to initially dismiss it as a practical joke.
God, that would suck, man. If you got to talk to Tim Burton and Jenna Ortega, and then they come to you on April 1st, like, oh, I don't know. That would, I'd be really skeptical. Like, okay, if they call me back like 2 days from now, okay, it's probably real.
Whew. I feel like he would I feel like he just wouldn't make that call on April 1st. I feel like that's the one day you're like, we'll call him tomorrow. We're not going to cast anybody else in the next 24 hours. We'll just call him tomorrow. Especially if you're a young actor, it's like, because look, I was never a big April Fool's joke guy. I mean, I think it's kind of corny at this point, but it's just like whenever somebody tells me something dumb April 1st, I was like, yeah, dude, whatever. Like,
I avoid social media on that day, maybe the day after, because people still post shit.
Even the stuff that I think is plausible, just like whatever.
Yeah, I shut everything down that day. I'm like, I'm not doing this with y'all.
April 1st, I go into super tinfoil hat mode, and I don't even believe that the sky is blue that day. Like, I assume everything is bull crap, whatever you're telling me, and I'll see you the next day. That's kind of how I handle it.
Unless you come out with a real good one, like one that really impresses me, then I might be like,
right.
Okay, you got
if
it.
If it's a funny one, then if it's funny, haha, okay, great. But if it's just like, oh, there's a new Friday the 13th movie coming out. Oh my God. Yeah, whatever. Okay. You're lying. I don't believe you.
In this age of the internet, it's hard to believe anything on any day of the week, because when I first got news yesterday about James Earl Jones passing, my first reaction was, what's the source? Where are you reading that? Mm-hmm. And Jennifer told me TMZ, and I'm like, I'm gonna do some research first, and then I went online and hit on like Variety and THR, and then I'm like, okay, now it's But it's like
I'm to the point where every time I see a celebrity's name trending, I automatically assume there's at least a 50% chance they're dead or there's a scandal right now. That's like the only two options at this point.
Anymore.
So, either you're dead or you're canceled. Which one are we going? Like, which route here?
It's like this whole thing with Gillies 2 that I was talking about earlier. It's like, it's so easy to fool like 10,000 people into thinking they're making or remaking or doing something with some kind of a project because one person shares it on the internet. You're like, oh my God, it's on the internet, so it must be true. Fuck it. It's like, you can't be that gullible. It's just so dumb.
Someone's gonna come to the tax on April 1st and be like, Halloween Ends isn't canon. He's like, it's never canon on any damn day of the week.
Yeah.
Hey, Halloween Ends? What is that? I've never heard of that before. Is that a movie? A TV show?
I'll tell you April 1st.
It stars one of the greatest actresses of all time, Jamie Lee Curtis. Perhaps you've heard of her.
I've never heard of this Halloween Ends.
He's never heard of that.
Halloween
this timeline or any other.
That's fake news. I've never heard of that movie before. I don't know what you're talking about.
In some parallel dimension, you're married to Jamie Lee Curtis now, right? Some parallel dimension, you guys have gotten married, you've got 27 kids, and you're living a good life.
No.
Here you are in this bad-mouthing her.
I would rather chop it off and shove it in a beehive than assume anything with Jamie Lee Curtis. For her trauma. This, and quickly for the ones that don't know, my hatred of Jamie Lee Curtis. This is a woman that her mother was one of the original Scream Queens. She gets her fame in horror. And then once she gets her paychecks, she craps upon it and goes and does poop yogurt commercials and crappy movies till she has no career left anymore. Then she takes a gigantic paycheck to come back to Halloween, only to politicize it and make it about her social commentary, trauma. And those are her words, not mine, and completely ruins Michael Myers. Literally, it just I could spend an hour on this, but I won't because I know we're an hour and a half in. But Jamie Lee Curtis can burn in hell, and I don't feel bad about it whatsoever. So,
but she's
thank
making
you
Freaky
very much.
Friday too. Lindsay
Great.
Lohan.
I hope she has a crow. Can we cast Alec Baldwin in that movie and put them in a scene together? Maybe something will happen. Just saying.
Wow, there's
Just saying.
He spins the fucking cylinder. This Friday's about to get freaky. I don't know.
You're
Freakier.
killing me, guys. You're killing me.
I want nothing to. I don't want to see that movie. I will just say right now. I don't even want to see the Freaky Friday 2. I'm just. I
Me neither.
can't.
Let's see.
I don't wanna do it.
While the Maitlands do not appear in this film, you can spot a small figurine of them in the river trench within the model looking up at the house in the opening credits.
I wondered about that because like there was a car as a model that was like flipped over in the river, but I didn't know if they were there. You know?
I was hoping for a Gina Davis cameo.
I got that reference as soon as I saw it. I was like, that's the car.
I was hoping for a Gina Davis cameo.
I think the dog was even on that model at some point. But then there was both of them standing in the trench with the car like sitting like on its front.
Huh.
So yeah, I saw it as soon as I saw it. I was like, oh, I get that reference. Yeah, that's nice. Actually, Gina Davis, I guess an original version of the script had both the Maitlands in there in some small fashion. And one early copy of the script actually had them coming in towards the end of the movie to help. But they realized they didn't need the Maitlands to tell this story. And I guess even Gina Davis was just like, well, she said the idea behind being dead ghosts is that we don't age. And
yeah, she did say.
And we are all aging. We're not 30-something like we were when we made that movie back in the 1980s. It's like now we're 60-something. And I think even Tim Burton said that he didn't think that de-aging stuff had progressed to the point where they could put them in there and not have it look kind of stupid. Now, me personally, I'm thinking to myself, you're using claymation. Who really gives a shit what the de-aging looks like?
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think they were needed for the story. There was already so much bullshit in here.
No, they weren't needed, but it would have been nice to have. I mean, I get why they don't want to bring back Alec Baldwin. I understand that, but I mean, it's not like they already had. It's not like they already featured one controversial character with the dad in this movie. We don't need Alec Baldwin too. How much more bad juju do we need? But it would have been cool to see, maybe have her dress floating as one of the spirits in the background or something, like that floral dress that she wore in the first film. Have that in there or something like that.
I was gonna say, going further, like you could have made her look like she did at the end, where she was like dead, like when they were trying to resurrect them. I know exactly how to do it. Since you bring up that picture, as Monica Bellucci is going into the dry cleaners and she picks out the wedding dress, right before she gets a wedding dress, she finds the dress that Gina Davis was wearing and just kind of blows it to the side or something.
That's why I pulled up this picture, because I know that she had grabbed that white dress out of the dry cleaner, and it didn't occur to me until you said that. I was like, I wonder if that was if I go back and watch that scene a little closer, if I can see the tag on the dress that says Maitland or something on it.
Have her dress or her name on the tag or something. Like, that's the little Easter eggs that the movie nerds like us pick up on. You know, like we find these things. So that could have been fun.
One more piece of trivia. You may or may not be surprised to hear this. Despite receiving top billing, Michael Keaton has less screen time in this movie than he did in the original. He had 14 minutes of screen time in this movie and only about 14 and a half or 15 minutes of screen time in the first movie.
A huge mistake. He should have been featured in this film. They should, just like I said on the last one, they should have done a reverse Beetlejuice one and had him carry this movie because he was great.
I don't know. I feel like if you were going to make him like the absolute center of the movie, which I mean, the movie is his name, for crying out loud.
It's his name twice. What are you talking about?
But I feel like his character is different because while he may not be on screen, he is certainly a character that's affecting everything. So even when he's not on screen, he is driving the narrative of the story, which is not uncommon for a lot of movies, but still, it's like, think about this. It's like Hannibal Lecter is on screen for 18 minutes or something like that inside of the Lambs.
True.
He is really driving that entire movie. I mean, it's like part Buffalo Bill, but part him driving Clarice. So you can not be on screen, but still have a significant impact on what's happening in the world. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna keep saying
No, I
Jaws.
get it.
You don't see the damn shark until the end of the movie, but
right,
pretty
but
effective.
Okay, here's the problem though. With Jaws, that only works for the first movie. Now that we've seen it, you can't say, okay, in Jaws 2, you're not going to see the shark for 50 minutes until the end, because you can't just go back. You have to move forward. I mean, that's why the sequels have to be bigger, bloodier, more, higher body count, whatever.
Yeah, because that was the good idea to jump the shark. That really worked out, didn't
right,
it?
that's what I'm saying. So they should. I think we would have gotten more Michael Keaton, but okay, with the first Beetlejuice, we only got 14 minutes and some odd seconds, but there was less story to convolute everything. With this, you had a season worth of stuff in 2 hours and just sprinkled in some Keaton along the way. So it didn't carry as well. That's why it doesn't stand out as much. But I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it'd be a little more interesting that it seemed like it was kind of doing like the T2 route where suddenly you had the Terminator and now the Terminator's trying to help you. They're like, oh, we have to have this guy help us, and even he's kind of in danger of some shit happening to him. So it's like, we don't want to turn to this guy for help, but
if the focus of this movie was Beetlejuice trying to get away from the ex-wife Monica Bellucci and Willem Dafoe is working in the background of all of that, such a better movie. It would have been tremendous. That should have been Beetlejuice, not what we got. That would have been better.
I agree. But that's all the trivia I've got. So we'll probably start to wrap things up there. Let me get your guys' final thoughts. Let's start with you first, Tech. Give me your final thoughts on Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I'd say middle of the pack of a legacy sequel as far as it goes. Keaton was great. I love the town. The underworld was incredible. Besides that stupid Soul Train crap, I would have cut that too. By the way, that was garbage.
I thought that was fun. The second time they went back to it, I was like, okay, we've done this already. You can get off this.
One time I can forgive, but we're going back. No, that's too much. I hated it. I agree with Jeremy. The dream ending crap needed to be we needed a second take on that one. I can't give this one any higher than a 5 for me. I'd say recommend it just to go see it just because Michael Keaton is awesome. But other than that, keep your expectations low and just have fun with it like I did. I don't regret seeing it, but straight middle of the road. Probably never watch it again, to be honest with you.
Jeremy, how about you? Give me your final thoughts on Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I still enjoyed it. Still enjoyed the weird ride of this, underworld that doesn't really make sense, even though they all seem to have rules, but no one knows what the hell they are. So I agree with Tex. Seeing the underworld is always a lot of fun because it's just like, if I'm going to believe in that kind of shit, I'm like, you know what? I would love, it would be kind of funny if that was actually how it was, because it's like there are rules, but then like a half skull, Willem Dafoe chasing me around is like some weird police enforcement would be really weird. And if I could, if anyone pulls someone like Monica Bellucci, I'm like, yeah, you really screwed up, man. This you should have looked into that. So yeah, it had kind of a lot going on. And like I said, in relation to Monica Bellucci's character, I thought it's that thing where I was talking about a horror movie kind of opening strong, and it's like, holy crap, that was amazing. And then the rest of the movie just kind of, just plateaus out.
This one didn't plateau. This one flew directly into the mountain. Like, just,
I mean, her plot line did, is what I'm saying. It's like, it was like, oh my God.
That's what I'm saying.
Shit. Yeah. And then it just kind of fizzled out. And then just kind of walked in and walked out. Otherwise, the other stuff going on was kind of fun. I would have, like I said, probably would have taken some things out and given more, like I said, to the character and story you tried to build up with her. I wouldn't, if it's at least worth to go see it because it is the sequel. Yeah, I'm not saying stay away from it completely because that's typically what I say about these sequels. But no, it was fun, and I would recommend seeing it. Just see it for yourself. That's the thing. You don't have to listen to
I like the popcorn bucket if that counts for anything. I mean, it's the Book of the Dead from AMC, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
True.
not bad.
So, and I will end off with again, we don't accept that Jeremy into our council. He's a dick, and that fucker can go straight to hell. So
he doesn't make your council of Jeremy's. Is that what you're saying?
No. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, no, mother. Look, we're few and far between. Okay, so we gotta keep it, keep it a little less stabby on the parents. All right.
So he's the one that's getting cast out like that one King variant. Then y'all are getting rid of him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we can leave him down there in whatever circle of hell he landed on.
Yeah, I was just looking it up something earlier and I forgot to get back to it. Jeffrey Jones has done some acting since 2003 when his legal trouble started. He's been in 3 relatively small, not too big movies, but he was in a very big TV show. He was in Deadwood and the Deadwood TV movie that was made, and he wasn't just in a few episodes. He was a significant character in both those. But and Jeremy is very familiar with his voice. He did the voice of Dick Richardson in Fallout 2. So, yeah, again, not nearly as good as the first film. It has its good moments. It's got some issues with the story. Convoluted, overstuffed is probably good words to use. I'm not going to run to the theater to see this again, but if I'm hanging out in October and on a Saturday and the weather's a little cool and I want to watch Beetlejuice, then it's sequel back to back, it's not a bad way to spend a Saturday. I mean, like I said, I wanted a movie that fit the original, and that this one, for the most part, did. I mean, I know we live in a zero-sum world where everything's got to either be awesome or terrible, and this movie is not on either end of that spectrum. It's a fun watch. I mean, I can get past a lot of the stupid shit because the better parts of the movie outweigh the bad parts of the movie for me. Maybe not by a whole lot, but it outweighs them enough to where I can honestly look at this movie and say it was a fun couple hours to kill. Again, I'm not running back to the theater to give us another, $10-15 of my money. But when it pops out on streaming in the next couple of months, like I said, it's a cold winter day and I want to sit and just watch Beetlejuice and its sequel. I'll do it. Order a pizza, hang out, sit with the kids, enjoy some, start the fire and enjoy a couple of fun movies that I can watch with my kids. I think it's a fair way to do things. Third one? No, I'm okay. I don't need a third one. I'm sure there's ideas rolling around, but I just
just for that name, buddy.
For the name,
just so they can get that Beetlejuice. It's coming, I'm telling you.
But the point is, you don't say it 3 times. So maybe we should leave it.
That would be a fitting way to leave this franchise. That would be.
I said, keep the budget down. Don't make it a $200 million movie. Let it be a passion project more than a big money maker, and it might work. But boil that story down a little bit, man. Get some of trim some of the fat off that script, or else it's going to be another kind of a jumbled mess of storylines like this one kind of was. But yeah, I don't think you'd do yourself any injustice by dropping a few bucks to go see it in theaters. I still think seeing movies in theaters is the way that movies should be viewed. But I mean, yeah, go see it. Judge for yourself. I mean, don't listen to me. Don't listen to any of us. We're just a bunch of assholes that talk about movies on YouTube.
No, they should listen to me because I'm right.
Yeah. Go watch it yourself. Go have fun with it.
Modest too. So modest.
Yeah, so modest. And given the 45-day theatrical window now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Vudu or some kind of pay-to-view service at some point. About 15 minutes now. So I mean, if you want to wait, go ahead. But I mean, just give it a shot. It's like I said, if you're a fan of the original, it's a justifiable sequel, not a great one, but it works for the most part. I think it's mostly enjoyable. Thanks to my amazing co-host for coming and doing this with me again tonight, starting with my header life mate, Jeremy. What do you got going on, my friend?
I'm staring at a screen because you don't come out of left field tell me that he was in Fallout. And I was like, yeah, but Fallout 2 came out in 1998. I don't think he was diddling kids yet. Or he may have been, but not got caught.
He hadn't been charged with it.
Now look, I was like, no, wait a minute. That was in like the 90s. I know that for a fact. So
are we setting the calendar by his discretions now? Pre and post diddler? Is that what we're setting it as?
I'm just saying. I forgot he was the main think one of the main antagonists in Fallout 2, but I was like, but that was in the 90s, so it's, you know, it's a little bit still kind of removed from the whole thing blowing up in his face. Anyway. Yeah, so I've got spooky season and a messed up lower back, which I think may have been from that, so we may be scaring from the chair. So, but that's a challenge in itself that I can still be intimidating and still be.
Satan can sit in the throne. That's okay.
That's kind of why it's there. I mean, that's the centerpiece. I like to walk around and like get in people's faces and be all. But the problem is, part of the act does require me to like reach through the crowd and like there's a floor devil who I have to pass a flame to. So I'm like, that may be kind of a stretch, literally. I don't know. There are 3 of us, so I mean, it's not like we can't make it work. I can just sit in the other chair on the other side of the room. You just heckle people. I don't know. I'll have to figure something out. I'm getting too old to be riding in the back of people's trucks. I think that's what did me in. I think I pulled something the wrong way. Don't get old, kids. It's not fun. So, but I'm dedicated to the craft. God damn it, I'm gonna hobble my ass down there and give people some good scares because, as we all know, and I know Tex knows better than anybody, it's Halloween and everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Everybody's entitled to one good scare, buddy.
And to the shape from Lone Star State, my man Tex, what do you got going on, my friend?
I saw a trailer on Twitter earlier that kind of intrigued me when I saw it. It's a new kind of a low-budget Halloween slasher with some kind of monster. They don't really reveal much but a hand in the trailer. It's exclusively on Screenbox, so you're going to have to be subscribed to that. But it's called Creeping Death, and it's got very much a Halloween vibe, very, very much fits the motif. I'm going to be looking into that, and I'd say if you're into that kind of film, maybe you should too. So I know nothing. I don't know who's in it. I don't know who directed it. The trailer looks interesting. It's a drunk guy playing a scarecrow, scares a bunch of kids, and a creepy guy knocks on his door and probably kills him. So that's basically the trailer. But Creeping Death on Screenbox. I'm going to be looking into that probably before we're back on Thursday. So I'll report back.
As for me, you will find me and the crew back here on Tuesday talking about, I think we're scheduled to do Jaws on Tuesday, a movie that we've been wanting to do for a while. And what is
Thursday?
I don't know. What is today?
Today's Tuesday.
Is today Tuesday? Thursday?
Yeah.
Well, Thursday, yeah. Thursday.
Tuesday,
12th, right? Yeah, so Thursday. Yeah, we're back on Thursday to talk about Jaws, which means that, I'm sure I'm going to watch it between now and then. But one of the movies, one of the great scary movies of all time. Again, you don't just when you thought it was safe, go back in the water. Here comes the shark. A movie that scared so many people off the beach that tourism actually dropped because of this movie, as I recall reading. And then we're
people are afraid to go into the water because of that.
We're going deep into the horror for all of September, really, and all of October. Scary season. I got these 2 guys around. I've got to get into the scary season. I really want to open it up and do a lot of different things. We've got Jaws coming up, Speak No Evil, which is getting some, me and Tex were talking about it before.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got my tickets
reviews,
already.
Getting decent reviews, so I'm probably going to go see that this weekend. Then we'll do Scanners, which is another great classic of the 80s, classic horror movie.
Mind-blowing, you could say. Mind-blowing.
The Watchers is one that I've been wanting to see for a while. We're going to do that later on in the month. And, of course, next year we got Joker 2 coming out, which is not a horror movie, but I mean, we have to talk about that movie. Then we'll get obviously All Hallows Eve. We're going to get into Terrifier 3. I know that as soon as I say that, Tex starts salivating.
He's like yelling at him.
Yeah.
And not just that, but the food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe. I've got my cup going today. I've got my Art Krispies cup. I already have Terrifier 3 tickets for the premiere showing on October 10th. Ooh. I won't even be here to do a show at that night. I've already told Frank ahead of time. I'll be watching Terrifier 3.
He'll be there wearing his white pants.
They'll be white when he leaves. I know that much.
His white clown.
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I might be getting some work done to the face for a Terrifier review. I'll leave it at that. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. But you'll see us back here on Thursday to break down one of the classics, Jaws, one of the movies that made Steven Spielberg. I mean, we have Steven Spielberg in large part because of his work on this movie. But I'm looking forward to that. So come back here on Thursday. We will see you then for Jaws. Until next time, thank you guys for coming to hang out. We very much appreciate you. Adios.
Goddamn foreigners.
One more time. I mean, look at those rolls.
Rip, James. The Dark Lord of the Sith has moved on to the Force. So
our twice king and Dark Lord of the Sith, yeah.
We may have to work.
George Lucas needs to.
James Earl Jones' best roles at some point. I think that would be a.
George Lucas needs to go back and make him a Force ghost now, just because he was the voice of Vader. Like they needed somebody
with him, yeah.
I'm sure the meme is out there somewhere already.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That needs to be done.